Okay, so I'd like to make a jumping player program. Again, a bit of a review of JavaScript and how to do some graphics and stuff like that and animations. So I'm going to do this completely from scratch again, and we'll also see how we do our functions, defining and invoking functions in this. I'm just going to call this jumping player. Awesome. So we'll open that up with code. All right, and again, files we need, of course, is index.html. Zoom in a bit here. We do our wonderful doc type HTML to let the web browser know that, hey, this will be an HTML document. And how come it didn't close the tag for me? HTML. There we go. Usually it automatically closes. Inside of the HTML, we have a head, which is information about the website, and then our body, Shift-Alt-F, kind of spaces it out a bit. Inside the head, we often put a title. We'll call it Jumping Player. Wonderful. We also link to a style sheet usually. I think I can do a shortcut link. Awesome. Styles.css. Cool. Maybe we can do a little h1 here that just says Jumping Player. Oops. Jumping Player. Okay, and then let's make that styles.css. Make sure this name, the href, is the same as the file name. And this will be my simple, my style sheet. And we'll just go body, text, emphasis, text, align, center. Wonderful. And what else do we want to do? Usually if I have a canvas, we'll add our canvas. I'm going to do that now. I'll give it a little border just so we can see it a little bit easier. Okay. So like I said, when I'm doing graphics, we like to make sure, or we need a canvas element. I'm going to give it the ID. You can call it whatever you want. I usually call it my canvas. Wonderful. And then let's load some JavaScript. And to do that, we do a script tag, and we can call this whatever we want to, but I usually do main.js. Okay, so now we need the file, main.js. Beautiful. I'll add a comment. This is my jumping player program. Cool. And for now, it's just going to console.log hi. Because I want to go live to make sure that this is actually doing something. Good. Jumping player. There's my canvas. It said hi. We're ready to go. Okay. Now, usually when we're doing the graphics, we need to set up the canvas and the context, the graphics context. So let canvas be, we're just going to do that document.get element by ID, my canvas, I think I called it. So that searches the HTML document for the element with the ID my canvas. So this variable is now storing a reference to that canvas. And we use that canvas to get a graphics context, a 2D graphics context, which implies that we can do 3D. We might look into that later. Okay, and then we usually do this canvas.width is assigned something. Let's go 800. Height is 600, and you can do those whatever you want. Okay, so now hopefully, hey, there it is, 800 by 600. Good. Okay. Now, in terms of our animations, we usually have a main program loop. So I'm going to have a function. Sometimes people like to call it draws. Sometimes I've called it loop in the past. I'm going to call it main this time. Function main, because it's my main program loop. And to get that this function looping, we do that request animation frame main. And then we copy that. And at the end of main, we call it again. Request another animation frame. This is something that JavaScript has, this request animation frame. It just helps smooth the timing of calling this function over and over again, generally at about 60 frames per second. So the request animation frame will call main, and then main will run, and it'll request another animation frame of main so that this function calls itself, so it continues to loop over and over again. And then usually in here, I break this up into my logic section, toyon section, and then a drawing section, just to keep that separate. In this case, let's start with drawing. Let's get some global variables. Let's put those here. for our loop, and I want to have a player. Let player be assigned, and I'm going to make my player be an object because my player is going to have a bunch of properties, and I want to store those instead of going, player X and let player Y and let player rate size and let player whatever. All these individual variables. I like to have one variable that is going to store an object which can have multiple properties in it. All right, so I'm going to need an X, and let's start with the X value being 200, whatever. Let's have a Y value. Let's set that to be 550. This is going to be a rectangular player, so let's give it a width of 50 and a height of 50. What else do I need? Probably an X speed, because I'm going to have this player moving around, and the X speed can be 5. It's usually a good speed. We'll have a Y speed. I want to do a jumping player, so we're going to need like gravity and stuff. We'll just start with Y speed at 0. And I'm going to do a G, or an A for acceleration, which will be my gravity essentially. And I'll make that 0.5. We can always play around with the numbers later. Okay, so a lot of information that I think I need. I might need more as I start programming, but I'm pretty sure these are good things to start with. Okay, so in the drawing section, let's just start by context.fill. And actually, here's another variable I could have. Maybe a color variable. If I ever wanted to control the color of the variable, let's the player, let's make him blue. Context.fill style is assigned player.color. Context.fill rectangle at player.x, player.y, player.width, player.height. Yep, so xy is the top left corner, and width and the height will be the width and the height of the rectangle. Super cool. And let's see what that did. Oh, there it is. Okay, awesome. Now, so that's just basic drawing. Now let's try some logic to get it to move. What about player.x plus equals player.x speed? So that should change the x value by 5 and then draw it. Change the x value by 5 and then draw it. So this loops over and over again, which should get us zooming across. That's weird. Okay, this is a common thing that you guys will probably come across as well. Remember, it is doing what it drew it, and then it moved and drew it, and moved and drew it, and moved and drew it, and it kept doing that. We're just seeing the whole history. Usually what we want to do is, the first thing in our draw section, you can either draw like a filled rectangle the size of the canvas, or there is a function called clearRect, which I'm going to go 0, 0, canvas.width, canvas.height. And that will basically clear the canvas with a transparent clear, I guess, so you can see what's behind it, which is just the body of the HTML document. And that should now, it clears it draws at its new position, so we see it moving. Cool. That's the basics of animation. We have a variable, player.x. We're initializing that variable to 200. We're updating that variable, and then we're using that variable when we draw. Cool. Now, if I'm doing this player here, I probably don't want it to move all the time. I want to control it with keys. So down below my main program loop is where I often like to do my event stuff. So we're going to add some event listeners to the document. Key down is an event that we're going to want to listen to. Add event listener key down, and I usually just call it a key down handler. Will be the name of the event function. Let's call this key event stuff, and we'll go function key down handler. Remember, we can define an event parameter here, which gives me information about the event. Okay, for example, what key was pressed. So let's go console.log event.code. So whenever I press a key down now, it should print out what key I press. So S, D, left arrow, right arrow, etc. Left up, right down. 5. Digit 5. Numpad 5. Cool. Okay. So what I can do now is I can do an if statement that says, hey, if event.code is equal to arrow right, then I want to do something. What do I want to do? I want to go up here and create some more variables. I want to have a right arrow pressed variable, which will be start off as false. If I have a right arrow pressed variable, which lets me know whether the right arrow is pressed or not, then I can go here and do something like if right arrow pressed is true, then I will move. Haha, that would be really cool. So right now, hey, it's not moving because right arrow pressed is false, so this code is not executing, so it's not moving. However, if I press the arrow right key, let's say right arrow pressed is assigned true. So now it's not moving, but as soon as I hit the arrow right key, zoom, I'm gone. Okay, but I don't want to just hit it and make it move. I want to hit it while it's held down. So once I copy and paste, I want to have a key up event listener that we'll call a key up handler. Function key up handler, like so. And again, I'll need that event parameter so that I can go if event. Actually, you know what? Let's just be smart about this. Let's copy and paste this code. If event.code is arrow right, that means that the key arrow right was released, was key up. So right arrow key pressed is no longer true. It's now false. And I should now be able to move by holding it down. Awesome. Okay, obviously we will also need a left arrow pressed if I want to move left. Pretty sad game. And I want to only be able to do one or the other, right or left, so I'm going to do an else if. Else if left arrow pressed is true, then player.x plus equals negative player.x speed. Right, so negative will move it to the left. Awesome. And then I just need to add into here the else if event.code equals arrow left. Then a left arrow pressed will be assigned true. And let's copy that and paste it and change that to false. So now I should be able to move right and left by holding down the left and right arrow keys. Okay, you know what? That's good for now. That's our first video here. I'm going to stop here. In the next video, we'll get the up arrow key so that I can jump and get some gravity happening so it'll fall down. Maybe we'll add some if statements to check boundaries, right? So I can't go off the screen. And obviously we'll need to check the ground when we start jumping. So we'll do that in the next video. Okay, so again, just a review, right? We have our HTML page that has that canvas in it. We run our JavaScript and our style sheet in the JavaScript. We're setting up the canvas in the graphics context. We've got some global variables, which is this awesome object that can store multiple properties in it. We've got the arrow pressed variables there. We've got our animation frame with that main function. And we got a start to some of the code and our event handlers. So hopefully that's a good review from CS10, and we'll keep cruising in the next video. All right, hope that made sense. Take care and see you in the next one.